two, a 1, 2, 3. The ground earth mother, oak is sprayed over hands, all the colors of the rainbow always seen throughout my land. The waving lines of the rivers, colored water giving life, colorful dots in the outback, painted light bright. They're out of sight, always playing round, always dancing to the sound, always staying real proud of my stomping ground. This is my culture, this is me, it is right here for all to see. See the red of the fire burning into the night, and the black of the charcoal that was once so very bright. Feel the yellow of the sunset turning orange across the land. Touch the blue sparkling water as it pours through my hand. Always playing round, always dancing to the sound, always staying real proud of my stomping ground. This is my culture, this is me, it is right here for all to see.
Yarmaninda. Hello, everyone. No, Gregg Dreise, Gomeroi Uwalii Wall. My name is Gregg Dreise, and I come from the Gomeroi Uwalii country of southwest Queensland through to northwest New South Wales. Obviously, I'd like to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi people for where I am here today. I'm in my studio at home. Obviously, with these strange times, we're doing stranger things, or is it more exciting things this year? So a big shout out to the Melbourne Writers Festival that we're a part of. Obviously a little bit differently this time, but climb on board, let's have some fun. So here we are in my studio. You would have just watched my YouTube link for my song For My Culture and Me. Obviously I'm very excited about my latest book. This is my newest book to come out through Penguin and Puffin Books. So big thank you to the teams there. And we're going to have a close look at that today. So what you're looking at here is a part of my benches, and they wrap right around there where I actually create all of my books. And at the end of that YouTube clip, you would have seen that there were some of the black and white roughs from the book that we created. So black and white roughs are obviously, we don't just start painting to make a book, and luckily we're here at studio. But here's some of them. So obviously here, this is just me getting out some nice big thick card and starting to come up with those drawings that make it into the book. So that actually specific one there, if we jump to the book and have a look. So we obviously plan everything out first, but that finishes up in the book looking something like that. So when we start with those black and white roughs and we get everything all organised to go from just having those drawing paper there to make all the pages of the book. So you would have got to see that at the end of that clip there with that song. Very excited about this book. So most of my other books start the way your teachers probably do, with planning sheets so we can start planning the story and plotting it all out. But this story was a little bit different to my other books. This story actually, the idea behind it started with a couple of instruments. So the main instrument that got things going with this one is this one. What do you think it's called? Come on, any guesses out there? Yeah, you got it. So this is my didgeridoo. And in here, it shows lots about my culture and most of the things on here. And I've got a few of them. You can see a couple more there. And I've got some more over in other places. But all of these ones are very special to me. And this bit in here, this actually represents me. So that's actually my handprint going around it painted on there. And the big emu print there is my totem. So this is all about my culture. And in here, I've got other ones for my kids. So I actually have 4 kids. So apart from me, I've got some little emu prints there on there for each of my family members of my children. So this is a special thing. But getting back to that book, I actually got this whole thing started by playing the didgeridoo. Now, lots of you guys and some books even say to get a didgeridoo to make some noise, you got to blow. But guess what? Check this out. If I blow on my didgeridoo, all you're gonna get is a big stinky noise, kind of like your dad makes, right? Yeah, yeah. My dad makes those noises. I bet yours does too. Put up your hand if your dad makes noises like that. I knew it. I knew it. Anyway, so we don't actually blow. So we've got to get our lips vibrating, and then we hum our tunes. And funnily enough, one of the ideas behind this whole book started with a simple little tune like this. So I'm going to vibrate my lips and hum out a little tune, and it goes like this. And without the didgeridoo, what I'm doing is simply humming the little tune that goes do 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 do. Can you hear it in there? I'll do it again one more time so you can hear that do 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 do. Here, guys, listen carefully. Then, obviously, behind that, and as you saw in that YouTube clip, then comes in some other ideas where they come into your brain. And then the next idea was a bit of a tune with my guitar. So here's one of my guitars. Check this out, more of my culture in there. This one's telling the family of my grandma and my granddad's sides of the family. So here with the guitar and the didgeridoo, we started with this little idea of getting this do 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 going, and it sounds like this together. And from that comes words. So obviously we got a bit of a tune going. And the next thing we got going are those words. And all the words to this book, not all books are about coming up with some fantastic superhero and these big, wonderful ideas. But this book all came straight from there, all from my heart. And it's all about being proud of my culture. And sometimes when you're writing and you're thinking, what am I going to write about today? How about starting straight from here and write about those things that you are proud of? And that's obviously how this book all got started, with me writing about the things that I'm proud of in my culture. So while you've got me here today, I figured that I could share with you some of the things from the book that aren't really there in the words. So let's have a look at some things in my culture that I find absolutely beautiful. And I'm gonna just start in here with does anyone know what this inside of the cover is called? You got it? You know it? End papers. That's right. And I love end papers. End papers are a gorgeous little way to open up a book and get things started. But these end papers are very, very important to Aboriginal culture and to my culture. These are our dreaming circles. Now, I want you to have a little journey in my culture and put you inside of it. But if we just zoom in on one of these here, so if you have a look right on the inside, you might think of this very center one as your ray or the sun, Father Sky up there, and all the life that revolves around that. And then Mother Earth, where we live outside of that. And then we bring it into you and your family. So there's you and your family with the circles of life going around that. And then outside of that, we've got your ancestors, or even outside of that, your next generation, your kids one day, and then their kids. So I love one of my favorite movies, The Lion King. Have you guys seen The Lion King? Yeah, I love that movie. But my favorite part is that song. You know the song I'm talking about, right? The circle of life. And that's what these things are to our culture, that life and our part in it is about maintaining the beauty of Father Sky and Mother Earth. So it's there for our grandkids, our next generation. It should always be there. None of the things that we create should be for greed and should be about you. We're not in the center of this. The world is the center of that. So that importance of looking after our environment, looking after each other, so that we've got all of these things that are given here, provided for us for the next generation, so that life will go on forever. So I love that in my culture, that all of my culture isn't really about you, or me. It's really about looking after this place for the next generation and the one after that, so they can share in the wonderful resources that are here for us. Now, some of the other things that I'm really proud of in my culture, just jumping back to the front cover, is face painting. So when we paint faces, we don't do it just for pretty patterns. So in here, one of my favourite bits in this one here, and the line from the book goes, "Shiver at the cold of the ochre as it transforms and decorates me. Rise with the spirit of the dancers as we prepare for corroboree." So this bit in here where he's getting his face painted isn't just to make him look pretty. It tells a story. And lots of the things in my culture are about the story behind it, not just what it looks like. And this story here, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. So if you guys, next time you're exploring in the parks or maybe even in your yard, and you find a rock, and you can get that rock and get onto some concrete or another rock and draw with it. Have you done that before? That's called ochre. And we love the use of ochre that Mother Earth provides for us. And we rub two of them together and powder falls out. Then, once you've done that, so just like TV, hey, here's one I prepared earlier. So I'm going to dip my fingers into that powder. And just like in the book, you can see that that powder there, I've got to add one more thing to it to make paint. Do you know what it is? That's right, water. So in my little one here, I'm just going to tip a little bit of my water from this into that. And then there you go, a few drips, all I need. I don't need a lot. Then I'm just going to rub my finger in there. It's kind of exciting just to think that this is just a rock that turns into powder. Then I rub my finger in there. Now I've got paint on the end of my finger. So now if we look back at the cover, looking at my culture, it's not just about making a face look pretty, having a pretty design on it. It's a story. And this story on the front of this one is all about the rainbow serpent. Have you heard of that guy? Maybe you read the book. Yeah? So I love the story of the rainbow serpent. But this is not just a story of the rainbow serpent, but it's a story that helps us be better people. So this story, and when we paint up faces, and I'm going to do it to mine now, so I hope you don't mind, but here we go. So I got this bit of ochre, and I'm just going to bring it down there and tell the story, maybe a bit more depth. I might have put a little bit too much water in that. All right. But it tells the story of the rainbow serpent coming down the east coast of Australia where most of us live. And then you notice when we get to this part, that's that big mountain that runs right along the east coast of Australia. Do you know what it's called? The Great Dividing Range. Yeah, you got it. So that's the nose here. That's the Great Dividing Range. Now, on this side of Australia, we get lots of rainfall. But out here, out west, it doesn't rain nowhere near as much. So what we do is we learn from the rainbow serpent and we share. So the rainbow serpent used his big body and he dug some rivers that took that water right out west, so a bit more of a dip. And he took that water out. Then he noticed, you guys might know this, what happens when the sun, when your ray gets to that water? What does it do? That's right. It evaporates it. So he noticed that a lot of these rivers started to evaporate, and he wanted that water, that resource there to share, to stay for longer. So he used his big, strong body, and he created water holes. and he dug down so that that water wouldn't get sucked up by the sun and the evaporation. And those little dots are all talking about having that resource of water to share for each other and for each generation. So when we're preparing for a cooperative like that, we are talking about sharing and sharing resources so they're there for each other, and we're learning from that wonderful gift from the rainbow serpent, sending water out west where it's needed just as much as here on the coast where we get it. Now, the other cool thing I love about in these books are those headbands. Have you noticed what colour Aboriginal people love on their headbands? Yeah, it's a giveaway in the front, isn't it? That's right, red. So red headbands aren't just to look pretty. So I'm going to let your brains think of this a little bit, okay? So I'm not just going to give away the whole answer. I'm going to let you get deep into your brain and work out the other bit. But the reason we love red headbands is because here in Australia, once a year, we celebrate Mother's Day. So that's that day where we make mum something wonderful that you handcrafted, and you just go and give her a cuddle and kiss and say, I love you, mum, you're awesome, thank you for being you. Well, in my culture, we did that every time we had a gathering. And what we were doing by those red headbands is we are going back to remember the moment you were born. So when you were born, your head comes out first. And that colour red, well, I'm going to let you work that one out with those brains on why the colour red. But basically, my big clue is it kind of hurt. So when we put that red headband on, we're saying, hey, mum, I know it hurt, but thank you so much, because without you, I wouldn't be here today. So every time we have those gatherings, we celebrate by thanking our mums. We celebrate by putting those stories like sharing on us. And then we get together, just like in this book, where we get together with our uncles and aunts and cousins, and we learn from them. You know, we learn from uncle who demonstrates, and we pass on our traditions, and we get that spirit of that music going through there. So obviously, once we've got our faces painted, we've got our red headbands on, we also like to talk to our ancestors up above. So no matter where you're from or what your beliefs are, I think we all believe in something like our ancestors being there watching over us. So for us, it's up there in Father Sky. So we always do this. We get some kene, which are fire sticks, and rub them together. And in here in this illustration, you can see that dance of the fire. It's a little bit more than just the fire itself. It's really talking to those spirits of our ancestors to call on their blessing and to hopefully show them how proud we are of them and how we're passing on our culture through to those next generations. So even though this is a story about the pride in getting together with your family, and as you saw in those clips, as those pictures roll and coming down into places, special places, they're called sacred sites, and lots of them all over Australia are different. They don't all have to look exactly like that. But in my culture, those handprints there, that's all about initiation and getting your hand up there with your ancestors and the gifts that are around there as well. So, but because I'm from out western Queensland, northwest New South Wales, that precious water that we talked about with the rainbow serpent is something that we're always taught to look after and share. So obviously this is a book for me about the pride in our journey of passing on my culture, a culture we're very proud of, a culture that's known by scientists as one of the oldest cultures in the whole world, and we love to try and maintain that. So if you get a chance, whether you're Aboriginal yourself or you're not, always, if you get that opportunity to go check out some dances, listen and learn to some culture, take that opportunity and learn more about Australia's rich history that's been going for thousands of years. Hey, one of my other favourite parts in the book is this one here, because lots of the things I was just talking about are respect and passing on traditions and being respectful for that. But I really love when we do get together, if you have that opportunity, you'll see lots of laughter. Right? We're such a happy, beautiful culture. When we get together, there's always people laughing, and that always spreads to that pride in our elders. One of the other things that I did that was really, really important, and you might have even had this thought yourself, but I know a lot of people get confused with this today. Aboriginal culture isn't about the colour of your skin. Just like my mum and dad, my mum's Aboriginal. My dad, he's got blonde hair and blue eyes and really, really light skin. But that's what I love about Australia today is we get the opportunity to marry that person you fall in love with. And Aboriginality isn't about that colour of the skin. It's about being proud of your ancestry and that feeling you get inside of being proud of your family. So if you meet some Aboriginal people and they don't look like what you might typically think from 200 years ago, then it's always good for us all to learn that Aboriginal people today, just like any of you guys, get that opportunity to marry and have children and obviously through the generations you might come out different shades of aboriginality, and that's why it was really important in this book that my main character here, who by the way, don't tell him too much, is kind of based on my son Kurukai. Um, but but the shades of our characters throughout here do change from the uncle, down to our main character who's a lot lighter. Does it make you less aboriginal? No. A little funny story I love telling. Can you imagine if my mum, who's Aboriginal, took kids out and then halfway through the day says, "That's it, that's all you learn," because you're only half Aboriginal, so you only learn half your culture. Nah, that wouldn't happen. We learn all the stories, you learn all the culture. So once again, if you've been a little bit confused by that, if you meet an Aboriginal person and they're not as dark as their ancestors may be, that's something that you will realise that they'll be proud of their ancestry regardless of the colour of their skin. So once again, those shades of colours in there was hugely important for me to illustrate so that people understand that. One of the other hidden things in there, and there's a little hint at it at the back of the book, but that's where one of my favourite things, if you check out what Uncle's drawing there in the sand, did you work out what he's drawing? Yeah? Did you say emu? Yeah, is that what you were thinking? Well, funnily enough, it's not just an emu. Can you see the other one on the page? Look carefully. There's another one just like it on the page. Here's Uncle's one there on Mother Earth, but can you find the one up in Father Sky? So he's not just drawing an emu, he's drawing about my totem. He's drawing what you guys probably know as the Milky Way. So if you look very carefully at the Milky Way, you will see there's an emu inside of it. So if you hear Indigenous people talking about the emu in the sky, the dark emu, the awesome emu, that's the way I refer to it as. We're talking about an old connection from a long, long time ago back in our dreaming where that emu ended up in the sky. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure about this, check it out on your search engines on the internet and type up emu in the sky and have a really close look at what you would call the Milky Way. But don't focus on the stars. Look at the darkness in between the stars. And you'll see it. Once you've got that focus, you'll see there's an emu up there in the sky every night. And it's not, once again, just an emu in the sky. He's up there to remind you to be proud of yourself, but never ever be a show off. But that's another whole story in that as well. But this obviously in the book, My Culture of Me, is that journey about being proud of your culture. I wonder what culture you're from. I hope you know. Some people say, oh, I'm just Australian, but there's a lot more to it with your ancestry than that. So this is my journey about this character being proud of who he is and being proud of his culture. So regardless of what your culture is, regardless of what color your skin is, always be proud of it. Listen to your family, learn from your elders, and be proud to share your history, because I am, and that's where I'm really, really love the fact that this book is out there to teach you guys to always be proud of who you are. And I love that pride in my culture. So on that note, I might, because I just love it, it connects me to my culture, but I might give this a little bit more of a tune this time and see if you guys can work out one of the reasons why this thing got its name as it's referred to today. So check this out. Have a listen to this. And remember, I'm not going to blow. I'm just going to hum out a tune. You listen carefully and see if you can work out what I'm humming in here. All right, as I'll share a bit of my culture. Here we go. You ready? Did you work it out? Did you work out what I was humming through there in that tune? Well, actually, obviously, you worked it out, humming out that sound of didgeridoo. And that's how we think it got the name that it's referred to as today, which funny enough isn't even its real name. But that tune there is a very common one to vibrate your lips and hum out the words didgeridoo, which is that beautiful part of my culture there. So here we are sharing some of that journey. Hopefully you're taking that in and been enjoying the Melbourne Writers Festival in our wonderful way of delivering it this year. So this is obviously my culture, and this is me here in my studio where I create books. So I hope you're keeping an eye out for my next books that come out soon. But this is where all of the action happens around these benches here, surrounding me in this room with lots and lots of light that comes in. And obviously, it all starts from things that you're passionate about. So if you're an avid reader out there, you probably realize you love reading books about the things you love. And it's exactly the same as a writer. I love writing books about the things that I'm passionate about. And a lot of it is my culture. So you guys can do it too. So get your pens to pads or get your pencils out and start your illustrations and start those designs about the things that you love doing. I love my culture, and I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about it here today as well. So this is me, Gregg Dreise, in my studio up here in Gubby Gubby country on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. So a big shout out to the elders and the nations where you guys are meeting today or where you live on in those countries. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about my culture and a little bit about me. Thank you very much, Melbourne Writers Festival. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. Yalu Ninda. That means until next time, my friends. Thank you.